Good evening. Welcome to the new party. I'm Nora Christine.
I'm about to give a really unpopular opinion, and I'm sure it's going to be especially unpopular amongst women.
I'm Gray Mars. Break a record by being with 100 men in one day. And right after she was done, she recorded a documentary.
I'm a vegan weed. Call yourself fresh and wear the same weak ass turtleneck on every show. Goddamn. Then we got goddamn the Sudanese Sambo. Bruh, man.
And I'm Enzo. Bringing up in my lives is they're like, oh well, he's violating the Constitution by having a meme coin and him making money off it in office and everything like that. I was like, if that was the case, like there would be lawsuits up the ass and impeachment in court.
I'm skeptic. Like I always say, don't let anybody trample on your constitutional rights.
I'm Mia. That's not a correct power dynamic in my mind. Typically, the people that are trying to be removed are not in control. That's why they're easily being removed.
The government, states, they start putting these RICO acts on Diddy, all of these guys, and try to put it on these ongoing criminal organizations. I ain't never seen the government put a RICO act on the KKK.
Switch happened. Come on, man. You got to acknowledge this. This is the problem that I have with elders like you, because you fail to acknowledge that this stuff has happened.
If we sit there and be old school, we gonna miss the boat. You know, a lot of this kids 19 years old buying houses with Bitcoin, buying Maserati.
Wow.
I think when it comes to the woman, if a man takes charge and he shows that he's logical,
same people. That's number two. That's all theater. This is WWF.
Disclaimer. The views and opinions expressed on this panel show are those of the individual speakers and do not necessarily reflect the views or positions of this channel, its affiliates, sponsors, or production team. This content is intended for informational and entertainment purposes only. Viewer discretion is advised. We encourage respectful dialogue and critical thinking around the topics discussed.
Party. Why I like the new party? Number one, it's a group of people that's on a panel. We all have differences, but we all basically still come together at the end of the day. The new party for me is about unity. The new party for me is about educating people to the truth, letting people know what's been going on in our country. With that being said, shout out to the new party, man. We're going to keep it going with y'all.
Welcome to a new party. I'm Gray Mars. Heaven, what's your prediction on what Trump's announcement is going to be about?
well, I mean, with the DOD involved, it could be going to war. It could be changing the name of the Department of Defense to the Department of War, like he's wanted, or hopefully, I mean, possibly stepping down, because of his health.
Wow. So what they said that they're covering is Trump announcement ahead. President Donald Trump will make an announcement this afternoon. His first public comments in a week about the Department of Defense. According to the White House, a source said Trump will announce that Space Command is moving its headquarters, and basically it might be about government funding. So that's basically what's come out right now. We're basically waiting to see what is going to come out. That's the White House right there. Thank you to everybody that's watching. We got a lot of people watching, so please like the live and share it as well. And if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button and press that notification bell to know when we go live. For sure. So, having you were in the military, one of the rumors is that Trump is going to say turn the Department of Defense to the Department of War. How do you feel about that?
He's changing the names of all kinds of things. It changes our language globally, and how we're perceived. It's not a good public look for the Department of Defense.
Right. I'm pulling it up on X because they're basically saying that it's going to be Space Command. So I want to Breaking Trouble's reverse a Biden era decision and will relocate Space Command HQ from Colorado to Alabama. So one of the things that he's going to do, I'm going to share my screen so that people can see what the Space Command looks like and we're going to wait. We're going to bring up once he started making his speech, but I just want to show this while we're waiting. So this is the U.S. Space Force right here. And they're basically saying that Trump is going to reverse Biden's era decision. We'll relocate the Space Force Command HQ from Colorado to Alabama. So a lot of this seems to be about Space Command. And again, having like you were in the military, how do you feel about Space Command being a new force within the military?
It's funny that you asked that question. While I was in the military, I did HR and I helped set up the UICs for Space Force. And it was kind of a joke. I mean, it still, to me, kind of is a joke to have a Space Force. But I think it would be just wasteful to pick up a base and move it somewhere else.
For sure, for sure. So it starts at 2:30. So that's basically what we're waiting on. But while we wait, basically, just basically cover some of the stuff that they're going to talk about and some of the things that are going on. So Heaven, we talked about Trump's health last night. Do you want to tell some of the people some of the stuff we covered and why Trump is dead is trending on X? You're muted.
Some of the things we covered. Oh, did I got it? Good.
Yeah, I can hear you now. Yeah.
Okay. Let's see what we covered last night. I
ordered 200 hand forged knives to my dorm room and built a Wix website to sell them.
Yeah, automatic. Keep going.
That just threw me off. Let's see. His Venus insufficiency, the fact that he hasn't been heard, or, we've seen the pictures, they're debated. His social media text and syntax of his language not matching up to his usual language.
Right. So I'm gonna play one of the videos that we played last night. We did say that it possibly could be his health. So I'm going to show exactly what the White House said about Trump's health.
Look over the White House at this hour as we do talk about the rumors that have blown up all over social media regarding the whereabouts of President Donald Trump. The White House saying he is completely fine. Take a look right here at what I'm talking about. This shows the trending topics there on Twitter or X. Now, over the last several hours, there have been several variations of hashtag where is Trump. The reasoning is that the president is normally in front of the cameras near daily, making some kind of remarks and taking questions from reporters. His last real public appearance was a televised 3-hour meeting with his cabinet. We showed that to you here on Live Now from Fox. That was on Tuesday. For some, his Truth Social post last night about the appeals court ruling on tariffs was enough to calm the chatter, while others on social media expressed different conspiracy theories that it could have been a member of his staff who was posting. Well, this morning, take a look as Barack Ravid over at Axios posted a short time ago on social media, clearing up any rumors saying that he has talked with those in the know and President Trump is just fine. Here is Ravid's post right there, simply saying, quote, "A U.S. official tells me Trump is okay. We'll play golf later this morning." Now, he did also post this one just a short time later, saying a U.S. official does tell me here that the White House pool report shows pool photog snaps pic of POTUS in white polo, red MAGA hat, black pants. POTUS's motorcade began rolling at 8:45 a.m. So again, clearing up those rumors that are circulating all over social media. Well, now back to that Truth Social post from the president. A U.S. appeals court ruling Friday that most of President Trump's tariffs are illegal, undercutting his use of those tariffs as a key international economic policy tool. The court did allow the tariffs to remain in place through October 14th to give the Trump administration a chance to file an appeal with the Supreme Court. Here is what Trump wrote late yesterday in response to that ruling. You see it right there on your screen. I'm going to take the banner down so you can read it a little bit further. But that says, quote, "All tariffs are still in effect. Today, a highly partisan appeals court incorrectly said that our tariffs should be removed, but they know the United States of America will win in the end. If these tariffs ever went away, it would be a total disaster for the country. It would make us financially weak, and we have to be strong. The USA will no longer tolerate enormous trade deficits and unfair tariffs and non-tariff trade barriers imposed by other countries, friend or foe, that undermine our manufacturers, farmers, and everyone else. If allowed to stand, this decision would literally destroy the United States of America. At the start of this Labor Day weekend, we should all remember that tariffs are the best tool to help our workers and support companies that produce great made in America products. For many years, tariffs were allowed to be used against us by our uncaring and unwise politicians. Now, with the help of the United States Supreme Court, we will use them to benefit our nation and make America rich."
So that's what we were talking about last night about how Trump's health is a concern. That's what Heather was talking about, that basically Trump may come out and say this. But Trump also, basically wasn't able to continue to send the National Guard to California. A judge ruled against him. Kevin, did you have anything to add to what last night before I play about a judge ruling against Trump?
I just think it's interesting how there's other people saying, "Oh, no, someone told me the president's okay." And it's not him coming out himself and saying, "Hey, I'm okay," like he normally would.
For sure, absolutely. And thank you to John in the chat. He's one of our mods. And yes, the announcement has been moved to 2:30, so we're just giving you guys some up-to-date Trump news while we wait for the announcement to start. So I want to play this video where they basically talk about Trump not being able to send the National Guard to California.
To our breaking news, a major court loss for the Trump administration. A federal judge says President Trump's use of the National Guard in Los Angeles was illegal. The judge ruling the deployment violates the Posse Comitatus Act, and he warns President Trump's calls to send troops into other American cities would amount to a national police force with the president as its chief. Before this ruling, Trump teased that Chicago is next on his list for troops. The administration is already planning to surge federal resources for immigration arrests there. Chicago's mayor has taken preemptive steps to try and rein in any federal action President Trump takes. For more on all of this, we are joined by NBC's senior Homeland Security correspondent Julia Ainsley and immigration attorney Alan Orr. So Julia, what else are we hearing from this judge? How big of a deal is this ruling?
Well, it's a big ruling when you think about how Trump wants to use the National Guard next. He's already toyed with the idea of possibly sending them to Chicago, something that leaders in that state of Illinois have pushed back on, as well as the mayor of Chicago. And this is also something that we've seen in D.C., although he did have more authority. He has authority over the D.C. National Guard because of its position as the capital city. But since Trump started deploying the National Guard in LA, which he said was to quell unrest after protests there that started because of ICE arrest, there's been a question about whether or not the president has the authority to call in the state's National Guard. Governor Gavin Newsom said he did not, and whether or not how long he can keep them there and what kind of duties they can be performing. It is against this law known as Posse Comitatus, a late 1800s law that said that the military cannot be used to enforce domestic law. It's the same reason why military can't be arresting immigrants when they cross the border. That would be enforcing a domestic law within the borders of the United States. And so in this case, this judge is saying that this was a violation to send National Guard to California. And so now that will be a big question going forward for the Trump administration. Do they continue to push? We've seen them push back court orders in the past. They will likely appeal this. And will they then decide that there is some other justification for sending National Guard to Chicago? One last thing, Anna, what was already so unusual about the idea of sending the National Guard to Chicago is they said they were doing it to crack down on crime there. That's really going a step further than what they did in Los Angeles, where they said it was to respond to unrest. The National Guard has been used in the past to respond to unrest. Sometimes that didn't go very well, like in the 70s during Vietnam protests, but it has been used in that way. And Chicago, to call them in preemptively, already raised legal questions. So after a judge is saying they weren't used correctly in California, it's unclear how the White House might pivot or if they'll change their course with the actions they have planned for Chicago.
Building muscle and strength during pregnancy can.
So, Heaven, how do you feel about Trump being ruled against to be able to send a National Guard over to California?
I don't think you should be using the National Guard, period, against American citizens.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with that. And what we've seen from Trump has basically been trying to send the National Guard over to Chicago, and it's a possibility that he may be doing it. So how do you feel about him spreading and doing it in even more places?
I think that it is imperative that every state government, every governor really takes a look at what the climate is of the nation currently. And they need to activate their National Guard in their own states against the abuse of this regime.
Well, it pretty much seems to be about just immigration. And Trump asked a Chicago area military base to basically help him with immigration reform. So
Because Illinois lawmakers demand President Trump keep the National Guard out of Chicago. The administration has requested a military base in the state support immigration operations. On the issue of federal takeovers, Washington, D.C.'s Democratic Mayor Muriel Bowser, who had criticized President Trump's use of the military in policing the district, had some unexpected praise for the heavy law enforcement yesterday.
The federal surge has had a significant increase on crime in Washington, D.C. And we greatly appreciate the surge of officers that enhance what MPD has been able to do in this city.
And earlier, I spoke to the Illinois Lieutenant Governor Juliana Stratton on the president's threats to deploy the National Guard to Illinois and about immigration. I want to start by asking about what you think about this news that the Trump administration wants to use a military base near Chicago to help with deportations. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, this is an example of Donald Trump trying to manufacture chaos here in Chicago and the state of Illinois. And it's a real example of him trying to normalize a military presence on American soil. It is not normal We have spoken out very clearly here in Illinois and in the city of Chicago that we are not going to sit idly by to watch this wannabe dictator try to come into our state and into our city and try to just bring his chaos. He is a weak man who wants to be the center of attention, and this is just another page out of his authoritarian playbook. And we will speak out and we will fight back and we will do everything that we can here in Illinois to protect our people.
And I assume that you are referring to what the governor described in the potential of National Guard troops in a city like Chicago. I do want to ask you, though, Washington, D.C.'s Mayor Muriel Bowser yesterday talked about some of the crime statistics here in Washington in light of the National Guard's presence, and she acknowledged that they have actually been pretty successful in preventing crime. And I'm wondering what you make of her assessments about the National Guard presence in a city like Washington, as it could happen in a place like Chicago.
Well, what I can speak to is what is actually happening in Chicago. And here in Chicago, crime is down. There's more work to do, certainly, and there will be, just like any city or town across the country, but we are making progress. We know that the way that you address crime is by looking at the root causes, and it's not solved by having soldiers in the street. And that's what Donald Trump wants to do, cause chaos. And that's not going to be for the reason of promoting public safety, but it's for his own purposes. You know, if you really want to look at what people are asking for, they're asking for access to affordable health care. They're asking for affordable housing. They want to make sure they can put food on the table to feed their children, but it's not going to benefit anyone for the federal government and for Donald Trump to send troops to Chicago, federalized National Guard, with no coordination with our state, not something that we asked for. We have business community members, philanthropic leaders, faith leaders, and of course, elected officials and other community leaders who have been working on this issue of public safety collaboratively for a number of years. We're making progress, and what Donald Trump is trying to do is to just stoke fear, pit us against each other, and cause chaos, and we're not going to stand idly by and let it happen.
But I'm wondering if what Mayor Bowser said yesterday, I mean, even I was surprised by some of the numbers that she was talking about. I'm wondering if that's changed your view of this at all. The fact that a DC city mayor, a Democrat, has said that this has been a successful effort in the city.
To me, it's when you see the rise of authoritarianism, it is not about, to me, a successful effort where I will take my daughter, my 9-year-old.
So everybody, man, having group chats basically talking about the Labor Day weekend and everything that's going on over there, and the 53 people shot, and 7 of them were fatally shot. Heaven, how do you feel about it? You're muted.
I just sent a video in the group chat. It's funny that this comes up because I just saw someone that was in that protest or whatnot, and she was saying that she passed a news crew saying that there was violence and that there were people injured and people murdered or schmurdered, and there was no violence. Everything was fine. And then I just saw that after the fact. So I just had to go search and search and search for it because I hadn't seen it.
I'm going to play the news clip of what happened over Labor Day weekend.
A deadly Labor Day weekend in Chicago as President Trump continues to set his eye on the city, threatening to send in the National Guard as early as this week. At least 52 people have been shot in Chicago over the Labor Day weekend. 7 of those victims died.
The violence included 3 mass shootings that happened at Haddon in California, in Chicago's Humboldt Park neighborhood, and 2 in Chicago's Bronzeville neighborhood, 35th and State and 36th and Cottage Grove. ABC 7's Jasmine Miner talked to people in Bronzeville about concerns about 2 mass shootings happening within 48 hours.
Many here in Bronzeville describe the neighborhood as on the come up, and they say they're not going to let the violence stop the positive work they're doing. For one woman, that means keeping kids healthy, active, and on the field.
Come on. Come on. We're gonna push through because it disservices the kids.
Alexis Hawthorne, owner of the top-tier university football youth program, says even gun violence won't keep her from serving kids in need. Their practice comes just a few hours and down the road from a mass shooting early this morning. 5 people were shot near 36th and Cottage Grove near Ellis Park, including a 17-year-old who was in critical condition.
At the end of the day, to have one person that was critically injured and 4 folks in the hospital, whatever the situation was, it was senseless.
It is the second mass shooting in Bronzeville in the last 48 hours. The other happened on Saturday night near 35th and State, where 7 people were hurt during a drive-by. Those like Alderman Pat Howell are taking action, telling ABC7 in a statement, "I have long asked for additional police manpower to deal with large illegal gatherings and pop-up parties that routinely occur throughout the Bronzeville neighborhood." It follows Mayor Brandon Johnson signing an executive order this week to avoid the Trump administration from sending the National Guard into the streets of Chicago.
Us as people, we can come together and fix it out on our own. We don't need no one to come here and, wreck shack our community.
Others think the troops could help.
I got kids, and I want to see the community better. I run every day out here. I exercise out here. So for the street to be safer, I think it's really good.
But Hawthorne says her football program.
Well, Heaven, I know you played a video where a lady said that nothing happened down there. Did you want to explain what happened in the video?
She was running or doing a protest or something along those lines, and she had passed a news crew. And the news crew was reporting on something that she said hadn't happened.
Right. So basically, people are trying to say that people are coming out saying that it didn't really happen and things like that. But I've always heard, holidays in Chicago, people partying, people getting together. That's when things get crazy. And like King Von used to always say his songs, I'm not from 63rd, I'm not from 63rd. And I remember that. So when they said that it happened, the street that they said that it happened at, I know that that's like a gang area because like it was a popular rapper, drill rapper who talked about shooting people. That's where they hang out at. But I'm gonna play basically with the announcement of what people are expecting Trump to do because we got like 2 more minutes before it starts. So this is like a quick video I'm gonna play before it starts.
Newscast with some breaking news as the Associated Press confirms U.S. Space Command headquarters is moving to Huntsville. President Trump expected to make that official announcement later this afternoon. Now, this decision would end years of debate on whether Space Command headquarters would remain in Colorado Springs or move here to Redstone Arsenal. Now, the move would bring a major influx of federal investment and jobs to North Alabama, solidifying Huntsville's role as a national leader in space and defense. Space Command oversees the protection of satellites and military operations in orbit. Now, we're going to continue to break that announcement as soon as it's made. We're also going to begin our live team coverage today at 4 o'clock on this game-changing decision for the city of Huntsville. And it's a very exciting day.
So that basically was them still talking about what you were saying, Heaven? Ask some questions. Oh, when we get some feedback. So basically what that lady was talking about was the Space Command. And so
What do you think about it?
Huh?
What do you think about
questions?
Yeah.
I don't know if it's cheaper, if that's why Trump is moving it over there. I don't know if it's because it's cheaper. I don't know what reason he has to be moving it over there. I mean, I'm interested to see Colorado to Alabama. I mean, I know down south a lot of things are cheaper, but I've never heard about Trump doing anything with Alabama, so I can't, make a guess on why that's happening. But we got 645 people watching on X, so you should come over from the X and you should come to the YouTube. So I just want to play that again before we get started. if you're on X, come over to YouTube, come press the subscribe button and hit the notification bell to know when we go live. So go ahead, Heaven. You want to question me? So go ahead. What questions do you have for me? That's about.
No, I don't have to question you, but just join in on the conversation. You just ask me questions, what I think, but I think we serve together.
For me,
You know?
Trump doing all this Department of Defense stuff, I feel like it's kind of like a distraction from like what's really going on in politics, like whether it's immigration, whether it's the economy, whatever that Trump is supposed to be doing. I feel like he does these like social causes or things with the government that say, hey, like I'm doing these random things to try to distract people and so they don't talk about stuff like you always want to talk about the Epstein list. I think it's that, the economy, just like things that people actually need in their lives. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Because at the end of the day, it's really not about, like, Biden was terrible too. So it's not about right or left, red or blue, elephant or donkey. It's about America and doing what's best and what's right for America and Americans. And I don't feel like he's doing those things. I don't feel like we should be paying for Israel to have health care. And I don't feel like we should be paying for IDF soldiers' retirement, which will be more than our own soldiers. That to me is mind-blowing. These are things that money could be going so that we all have health care. Or, I don't know, we don't cut free food for kids in school or cancer research. And that affects everyone, right or left.
Absolutely. I completely agree with you that, you know, things like free school lunch, the child care money that they was going to give people. I do think that, you know, with Joe Biden, he was at least trying to help the middle class. I guess like with conservatives saying, oh, you know, we basically want people not to pay taxes for certain people. I feel like we always have to help the poor, but I do feel like the middle class does like pay for the poor. Like if you look at people who actually give to charity, it's not like
imagine being able to build an app with your name on it. Just
not actual
AI creation platform.
Yeah, guys, we're still waiting on it. The speech to start is 2:30 now, so we're waiting to see what's going to happen. Sorry about the ad, but basically what I was saying, Heaven, is just like things that actually help like the real people. I mean, like I've seen somebody post saying that, they actually had to pay taxes on their overtime. It was a firefighter. He said he had to pay taxes on the overtime, that Trump really didn't do anything to help with the overtime.
So if we just even cut the funding just to Israel, just the money we give to Israel that we've been giving for decades, it's not about giving money to people or giving tax cuts to people. It's about literally you could government subsidized childcare goes directly to the business. That then helps the businesses and small businesses in local areas. That benefits everyone. Then you're not taxing the people extra. It's simple things that we can implement or that can be implemented on a federal level that can have effects that touch everyday Americans' lives. Simple things. I don't think we should be paying for other nations' college.
Yeah, I think that's pretty crazy for us to be paying for other nations' college. And we were talking about on the last show, I don't know if it was on the New Part of Man Cave, about Trump basically bringing 600,000 Chinese students. But Trump basically said he was against immigration and all this, but he doubled down and said, I want to bring 600,000 Chinese students because they're going to do all this great stuff in America. We got Mia. She said, were they really though? They all take dark money and big corporate money. I mean, it's true. They all do take money. And it's a big issue with politicians being on the take. People basically profiting from basically working for the government. I feel like that's a conflict of interest.
I agree. I think that we, the people, can come together and make some sense of some things for the people that the government isn't doing. I think that anyone who represents their state, any congressman, senator, senator, they should get paid the minimum wage of their state.
Yeah, I mean,
that would be incentive for them to work harder for the people in the lowest bracket of their state.
It's some quote that Warren Buffett said. I can't think of it, but basically he was saying like we should base Congress people's salaries based on like how well the economy is doing and how well things are actually going. And if they did that, we actually see like a real solution. I think some people will be hard for them to live on minimum wage, but I do think the amount of money that they make is extreme, and especially if someone comes and like they basically had no money, but then they leave a millionaire. Of course, people are gonna be like, "What's going on here?" Like, there has.
But you see that. That shouldn't be the thing. It shouldn't be the thing that I think it's going to be hard for people to survive on minimum wage. Why is it hard for people to survive on minimum wage? That would say these congressmen would then feel it, and then they would fight to raise the minimum wage in their state or the federal minimum wage, so that way their people can be taken care of. Instead of all the money that their retirement is absurd. We could cut that just in half. But these aren't policies that they're going to implement because it takes from their own pockets. These are our grandparents, most of them, that are grandparents' age or, older. Some for some. Yeah,
exactly. I was just looking it up. I think that it's like 400,000 or something. No, their average salary is 174,000.
But that's not including all the extra stipends that they get. That's not including a lot of other things.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. I mean, making it where it's a financial incentive for them is definitely gonna make them actually do what's right. And then Mia again said maybe if they educate us properly, we wouldn't need PhD students from Asia. The school system is a big issue, and I feel like that's why a lot of people were able to go to the right on the education system because the education system is already messed up. And then when they started saying all the boys playing girl sports, they're teaching about pronouns and this and that in school. Once they did that, I feel like that just was on top of problems the school was already having.
And we need to pay teachers more.
Yeah.
If we invested in our education. I think it's really simple just to look at top nations around the world. If, say, for example, this is just off the top of my head, it's not accurate. Just an example, say China was #1 in education. Then we should see what they're doing and implement it here. Same with healthcare, same with prisons, same with kind of like a little bit of everything. Then we would actually be #1 across the board. But we're not.
For sure. Doc talking about he go get on, so I'm trying to send him the link. But where's Trump at? Maybe Trump really is sick. I mean, why are we still sitting here waiting for Trump to get started? It's now 2:38. So you guys know, we are basically waiting for Trump to get started. It isn't us. Let me see if this is the right link. I'm gonna send him the link. But
that's interesting. First it was 2:00, then it was 2:30, and now we're sitting here. It's almost 2:40 and nothing. You muted.
But yeah, it's interesting to see. I'm sending him the link now. But it's definitely interesting to see all this stuff going on, and I definitely want to see like what he looks like when he comes out.
If they don't move it to 3.
If they don't move, so it really was at 2:00 before.
It was. That was the time.
Oh wow. Let me see if I can.
Right, absolutely. Yeah. They constantly vote for their own health care, pensions, and cost of living adjustments.
I mean, does this normally happen? I don't remember this ever happening. Like there being a public service announcement and them being like, "Oh, we gotta push it back."
It just, I mean, it's not. I don't have. I mean, I have some personal problems, that I feel about Trump himself, but that was also about Biden and Kamala as well. All of them. None of them were for anyone, in my personal opinion. Sorry, I got distracted. I have no idea what time they're pushing it to.
I'll try to look it up. Mia said they consistently vote for their own health care, pension, and cost of living adjustments. Yeah, they definitely vote for their own stuff, and they constantly voted for stuff for them to get. Let me see what time it starts.
Whatever they get, we should get. If there are supposed to be a representation of us, then they should be representing what we get.
Yeah, I completely agree. Doc, you there?
Yeah, what's going on, y'all?
What's good?
Not much, man. Just getting home not too late yesterday. I think, the education thing is crazy that we paying for different countries' education. That's like ridiculous.
And healthcare. And that goes back to what we keep bringing up on the Man Cave, keep talking about because it's so relevant, is the mental health in America. And men's mental health, especially, and these young children's mental health. We have crises here that need to be addressed properly by our representatives, and they're not. Regardless of what side you're on, who you do and don't like, everyone should be getting these basic things.
I completely agree. And that's why I feel like everyone should vote for, despite the party, who's really gonna give it to us. That's the question, because people say, oh, don't vote for either party because they don't have our best interests at heart.
They don't.
And I think one of the problems too that America's foreign policy is so vast, and we're involved in so many other people's problems that the way to get these people to listen to us and accept our help is we give them money. So the money that we give to these places, we take out of the mouth of American citizens when we could be giving free health care and free school for American citizens. And that's been a problem with all of the presidents that's been coming for the last couple of decades, because they all want this control over the world. They want to be the leader of the free world. And I think that title, leader of the free world, has given them this idea that we must go out and fix everyone else's problems, like we're the parents for the world.
So, Doc, you was traveling over the weekend for Labor Day. What we talked about last night was Trump's health. How do you feel about Trump's health? Because people saying they haven't seen him, I think, for like over a week. So they think they hiding his health and that this is Joe Biden 2.0 and that Trump is actually having failing health. How do you feel?
I've been thinking about that for a while, though. Like, just because of how sometimes he gets into these interviews and he rambles, that I think that shows a sign. Like, sometimes his ability, even though he's probably very intellectually smart, I wouldn't challenge him on that. But sometimes he gets and he rambles and he goes long because he isn't making a cohesive thought. So, but I think that's just a problem that we're allowing these 70 and 80-year-old men to dictate what's going to happen for the next 20 to 30 years, and they're not going to really realistically have to live with it. So I think we might have to go younger on just like some of our stances with the people that we support from either party.
Yeah, they was basically talking about term limits, like how long a person can run. Because I think it's Chuck Grassley. He's almost 90 years old, and he still is a congressperson. So I mean, it's insanity some of these people's ages, but they want to keep making that money, and you basically just go in there to vote and sit around to some degree. I mean, I'm not gonna say they don't work hard, but I understand the benefits of not leaving.
I mean, realistically, how well do we expect a 70-year-old, 78-year-old man to be? You know what I mean? And what peak physical health? Like, he might die if he had to run. If he had to run and duck, like when they shot at him, he probably could have died from a heart attack. He didn't even need to get hit.
Well, I do think it's real fishy that they kept pushing this announcement back. Like, is something wrong with him? Like, is that why they pushed it back? I would think this would be an easy conversation of just, hey, we gonna move the Space Force place from one place to another.
But do you think Trump's health thing? Do you think that that's Republicans attempting to pull the same move Democrats pull, where they just try to slide the next candidate in there? Like, is he going to try something like that, where they just try to choose the next candidate for the party without getting the party's endorsement?
I think that they're scared of Trump and that Trump intimidates them. So, like, even if Trump was having failing health or dementia or something, they would be so afraid to, like, they're yes men, so they'll be so afraid to tell him anything that his presidency would end up going forever because Republicans are afraid of Trump.
Well, and I think part of the thing is because he's made the MAGA movement kind of his own movement rather than it being political. They mostly just support him. So I think they have to tiptoe around because I think they need his endorsement and they need his support to bring that voter base to whatever candidate they get in the future. So that's why so many people are willing to capitulate and be a part of his plans. Whether he's right or wrong, I don't know. But even if they don't believe, they go along with it because they realize we need the support because he has a great support system.
Exactly. Like, I tell people that all the time. But Doc, we was talking about this. Like, MAGA is basically Trump. So I don't feel like anybody could ever like step in and actually be basically, for lack of a better word, the king of MAGA, the person in charge of MAGA instead of Trump.
I think he would have to like make that person seem otherworldly. Like he would have to crown that person himself for the people to accept it. And that would maybe be the only way. And you get some people to accept it and some not to, but I think it would take him, and it would have to be him, and in addition, it would have to be the right person. Like I don't think a career politician would be able to step into those shoes because that's
No
not
one
what
can
he
step
that's
into
not who he
Trump's
is.
shoes. No one can step into them. He's cultivated this movement from, I mean, years and years and years, decades of being a household name. It's not just MAGA. You got to understand this spans decades. And people respect his business. I guess savvy, the art of the deal. I don't think it's ethical practices, but that's just my personal opinion. No one is going to be able to replace him. I think it's going to cause chaos, and I think that's what we're seeing here. It's now, I mean,
It started. Let me turn it on.
Well, thank you very much. It's a very important day and an important announcement with great friends of mine. I think I can say this group is every one of them. I rate a 10. I can't always say that, even if they're Republicans, and these are Republicans, great Republicans. I want to thank you all for being here for this important announcement, 7 years in the making. As you know, this has been going on for a long period of time, and I am thrilled to report that the U.S. Space Command headquarters will move to the beautiful locale of a place called Huntsville, Alabama, forever to be known from this point forward as Rocket City. Okay, so Huntsville, Alabama, we love Alabama. I only won it by about 47 points. I don't think that influenced my decision, though, right? That didn't, right? But we had a lot of competition for this, and Alabama's getting it, Huntsville in particular. So congratulations, everybody. Katie, congratulations. This will result in more than 30,000 Alabama jobs and probably much more than that, and hundreds of millions of dollars of investment. And that's billions, because it can't be millions. It's billions and billions of dollars. Most importantly, this decision will help America defend and dominate the high frontier, as they call it. I want to thank Secretary Pete Hegseth. He's doing a fantastic job. And Secretary of the Air Force, Troy Mink. Troy, thank you very much. Great job you're doing, Troy. This is such a big deal. This is one that everybody wanted to know. What are you doing? I also want to thank Senators Katie Britt, and I want to give my condolences. Your grandmother, her grandmother just passed away. She was 100, right?
100, and she loves you, Mr. President.
Well, and she was very proud of you.
Thank you very much.
Very, very proud of you. So thank you, Katie.
Wonderful woman.
She must have been. To produce you indirectly, I can tell you she had to be. Tommy Tuberville, who's a great coach. And I won't say anything about what happened with Alabama football this weekend.
Let's leave that out.
But you're not used to that, right? You're not used to that. But Tommy, Auburn won, that's right. They did. So you're happy. Tommy's been a great senator, as you know, and a fantastic guy all around. He was also a tremendous coach. House Armed Services Committee Chair Mike Rogers. Thank you, Mike. Where's Mike? Mike, thank you very much. Doing great, Mike. Representatives Barry Moore, all great friends, Robert Adderholt, Gary Palmer, and Dale Strong. Thank you all very much, fellas. Appreciate it. In my first term, I created a thing called Space Force. So important. You know, we were losing the race in space very badly to China and to Russia. And now we're far and away #1 in space. And reestablish Space Com with a mission to protect American space assets and detect any threat to our homeland. We initially selected Huntsville for the Space Com headquarters, yet those plans were wrongfully obstructed by the Biden administration. And as you know, they moved them to a different locale. And today we're moving forward with what we want to do and the place that we want to have this. And this will be there for hopefully hundreds of years. That's where it's going to be. I will say I want to thank Colorado. The problem I have with Colorado, one of the big problems, they do mail-in voting. They went to all mail-in voting. So they have automatically crooked elections. And we can't have that. When a state is for mail-in voting, that means they want dishonest elections, because that's what that means. So that played a big factor also. In Huntsville, Space Com will play a key role in building the Golden Dome, as you know. That's going to be a big thing. Everybody wants to be a participant in it. Missile Defense Shield, we're going to be having a Golden Dome that the likes of which nobody's ever seen before. The finest, the best. And by the way, Canada called. They want to be a part of it, and that'll be great. But Canada wants very much to be included in that, and we're going to work something out with them, I hope. It will also ensure that our technological capabilities, of which we're way ahead of anybody else, there's nobody close, remain unmatched long into the future. So I'd like to ask Secretary Hegseth to say a few words. He was very much a part of it. And really, everybody behind me was. Every one of these people would call me and lobby me. I said, Katie, I don't want to talk to you anymore. I know what you want. She said, that's right, sir. That's what I want. And they got their way. So I just want to congratulate. These are really special people. They're politicians in many ways, but they're great patriots, I think even more so than politicians. So they fought very hard to get it, and it's an honor to give it to Huntsville. Pete, say a few words, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. As usual, right place, right time, for the right reason. In your first administration, you established the Space Force at a time when we knew we had to be looking to that domain of space. You also reestablished SpaceCom to ensure that priority was put in place. And you, through the Air Force, independently identified that Huntsville, Alabama was the right place to put it. For other reasons, in the next administration under Biden, they decided to move it somewhere else. Well, during that time, the DoD Inspector General, the Government Affairs Office, they did their own assessments. And where did they say Spacecom should go? Huntsville, Alabama. So what you're doing today, Mr. President, is restoring it to precisely where it should be based on what the Space Force, the Air Force, your leadership believes will give us strategic advantage in the future. That is Huntsville, Alabama. We are way ahead in space, but this will ensure we stay leaps and bounds ahead because that's the most important domain. Whoever controls the skies will control the future of warfare. And Mr. President, today you're ensuring that happens. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Katie, would you like to say something?
Mr. President, we are grateful for your leadership on this and restoring Space Command to its rightful home in Huntsville, Alabama. This delegation has worked together, both chambers, both parties, to make sure that Huntsville was the place that Space Command called home. As was mentioned, obviously the Biden administration chose to make this political. What we want to do is put the safety and security of Americans first. We want to make sure that our war fighter is put first, and we want to make sure that America continues to lead. And today, Mr. President, you've allowed that to happen. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Tommy, please.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Mr. President. This is a great day for our country, not just for our state of Alabama. We need help in our military. We need to catch up. And as Secretary has said, we're not behind in space, but we know where we're at, and we need to expound on that. Now, this move will save the taxpayers $480 million. It's not going to cost more. It's going to cut $480 million. We have the plans intact. It'll be behind a secure wall in Huntsville, Alabama at Redstone.
Looking for the perfect background? Check this out. Upload.
If you're watching on X, come over to YouTube and hit that subscribe button. We got over 664 people watching on X. Come on over.
If I thought it needed to go somewhere else because I understand the security of our country, I'd be for that. But the best place for Space Command is Huntsville, Alabama, because what we have and what it means to this country is going to be so important. So thank you, Mr. President, for this. And we look forward to building a huge Space Command and having the Donald J. Trump Space Command Center in Huntsville, Alabama.
Absolutely. JD, would you like to say something?
Sure. Well, Mr. President, thank you. I'll be very brief here. I lobbied the president hard to put it in Ohio, but he said these people behind us, these Alabamas, are just too powerful and too persuasive. And so it's in Alabama. But as Tommy said, this is exactly the right place for Space Force and Space Command. I think Americans ought to appreciate the fact that you can't win the battle of the future unless you control the skies. The cyber security, the communications, the entire infrastructure of the battle in the 21st century will be in space. So it was a visionary move in the first administration for the president to set up Space Force. And I think an equally visionary move to make sure that Space Force is right where it should be in Huntsville, Alabama. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. Gentlemen, anybody want to say anything? Would you like to say?
Mr. President, another promise made, another promise kept. You think about it, Redstone Arsenal is critical to national security. The president said when you were the 45th president, let's do what's right for national security. And today, that's exactly what we're doing. It's not because of this or that. It's because it's right for national security. You think of the 21 categories that were evaluated to determine what was best for national security. All indicators pointed back to Huntsville, Alabama, and Redstone Arsenal. We have the right people at the right place at the right time. Mr. President, on behalf of the people of the 5th Congressional District and all of Alabama, thank you for keeping your word. Absolutely.
Thank you very much. Anybody?
Let me just say, Mr. President, I want to say thank you. And thank you for doing this because it was the right thing to do. When they looked at all the numbers, Huntsville was the place to go. And like you say, it was unfortunately pulled out, but you made it right. So I want to just say thank you again for a grateful nation, and to the state of Alabama. We're very grateful. Thank you and God bless. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President. Throughout history, militaries has always understood that whoever could hold the high ground held the advantage. Space is the ultimate high ground. And what we're doing with moving the Space Command to Huntsville is absolutely critical to our maintaining dominance in that sphere. And it goes hand in hand with what we're trying to do with the Golden Dome and missile defense to defend against anyone else who tries to enter that sphere. So thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you very much. Please.
Thank you, Mr. President. And obviously, national defense is a huge issue. And when you look at the scores, Alabama was #1. And for political reasons, it was moved out of our state. But, Mr. President, thank you for making priorities of defense and the warfighter and the safety of this nation. And in the big, beautiful bill, that Golden Dome will be built in Huntsville, Alabama, and we're grateful for that. Thank you.
Listen, as chairman of the Armed Services Committee, I care very much about what's most important for our national security. And the president held a nationwide competition to determine where we should have this command. If y'all remember, at the end of that competition, where Alabama came in first, there was a lot of complaints from the other states who did not place well. He said, we'll do it over with new criteria to accommodate your concerns. Alabama came in first in that second competition. His Secretary of the Air Force reviewed the results, said it was fair, and the president named Huntsville. It was the Biden administration that decided to make it political, even though his own Secretary of the Air Force said it was a fair competition and it should be in Huntsville. So I want you to know I appreciate this president standing up and being strong and saying he's going to make this right and put it where it rightfully belongs. That's Huntsville, Alabama.
Thank you very much. Good job. So thank you all very much. You are going to leave me alone now. You're not going to call me anymore and talk about this subject, right? You promise? They'll start something else. But I just want to congratulate you. It's a very big deal. When you come out and when you leave the room, you'll see that we just over the last few minutes literally shot out a boat, a drug carrying boat, a lot of drugs in that boat. And you'll be seeing that and you'll be reading about that. It just happened moments ago. And our great general, head of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, who's been so incredible, including what took place in Iran, knocking out potential nuclear power for a long time to come. I think within a month they would have had it. We didn't do what we did. But he gave us a little bit of a briefing. And you'll see. And there's more where that came from. We have a lot of drugs pouring into our country, coming in for a long time. And we just, these came out of Venezuela and coming out very heavily from Venezuela. A lot of things are coming out of Venezuela. So we took it out and you'll get to see that after this meeting is over. Do you have any questions, please? Yeah, please.
Senator Cumberland talked about the cost savings associated with this announcement. Can you talk about the strategic benefits by having Space Force Command headquartered in Huntsville?
Well, it just works because we have so much else there. And having a central, you could call it a central command, but it really is a command station. Also, even locationally, where it is, and when you think about flying distances, if you can save a half an hour as fast as some of these planes go and things go, and even the rockets go, if you can save by having the best location. So we went out, as you know, to experts, and we had 4 different groups of experts. They all said this was the best location. I also loved it from the standpoint, I know the people of Alabama, they are great people, work hard, and there's no games, and they're very proud of it. And I would say they fought harder for it than anybody else also. A lot of states, 5 states really wanted it, but they wanted it more. And I kid you not when I say that these people, they spoke to me a lot. That's all they wanted to talk about. They didn't want to talk about the weather. They only wanted to talk about moving to this location, moving to Alabama, Huntsville in particular. So we're honored to do it. They really wanted it badly, and they got it. Peter?
President Trump, something completely different, but about a big viral social media trend over the weekend. How did you find out over the weekend that you were dead? You see that?
No.
People didn't see it for a couple days. 1.3 million user engagements as of Saturday morning about your demise.
Really? I didn't see that. You know, I have heard, it's sort of crazy, but last week I did numerous news conferences, all successful. They went very well, like this is going very well. And then I didn't do any for 2 days, and they said, there must be something wrong with him. Biden wouldn't do them for months. You wouldn't see him. And nobody ever said there was ever anything wrong with him. And we know he wasn't in the greatest of shape. No, I heard that. I get reports. Now, you knew I did an interview that lasted for about an hour and a half with somebody, and everybody saw that was on one of your competitors. I did numerous shows and also did a number of truths, long truths, I think pretty poignant truths. No, I was very active over the weekend. They also knew I went out to visit some people at the club that I own pretty nearby on the Potomac River. And no, I've been very active actually over the weekend. I didn't hear that one. That's pretty serious stuff. Well, it's fake news. You know, it's just it's so fake. That's why the media has so little credibility. I knew they were saying like, is he okay? How's he feeling? What's wrong? I said, I just left. And it's also sort of a longer weekend, you know, it's Labor Day weekend. So I would say a lot of people know I was very active this Labor Day. I had heard that, but I didn't hear it to that extent. Go ahead, Peter.
Something else. We know that this country has a huge problem with school shootings. You've said that you're open to sending the National Guard pretty much anywhere. Would you ever consider sending an armed National Guardsman to every school?
Well, we have a big problem with school shooting, but we also have thousands and thousands of schools that run perfectly. You know, they talk about you can do things construction-wise, and that's really I think nobody knows more about construction than me. You can build the construction doors. You can build what they call safety doors, where they lock on the outside, the inside, and every place else. Well, but if one of these lunatics happens to get through, then the police can't get in. Then they're looking for keys all over the place, and it takes a lot of disadvantages to doing, spending billions and billions of dollars and actually making it safer in some way for some of these lunatics that we're dealing with. But I don't think so. I've thrown out the concept. We have great teachers that love our children. The parents love the children. Teachers love the children too. And if you took a small percentage of those teachers that were in the military, that were distinguished in the military, that were in the National Guard, et cetera, and you let them carry, that's something that a lot of people like. I sort of liked it. It'd have to be studied, but they're trained. They know about weapons. You can't do it with every teacher because most teachers don't know, and but I always thought that would be an alternative. But it just we've had a lot of instances. Other countries have also. They have different kinds of problems than we have, but we do have. There's something going on, and it's a bad thing. Yes, please.
Have you spoken with President Putin in the past week? Have you spoken with President Putin? In the
Yeah,
past
I don't
week?
want to. I have learned things that will be very interesting. I think in the next few days you'll find out.
Consequences if there isn't some type of announcement of a meeting with President Putin and President Zelensky?
Yeah, there will
and what
be.
could those consequences
We're going to
be?
see what happens. We're going to see what they do and what happens. I'm watching it very closely. Last week, they lost 7,000, between the two countries, 7,313 soldiers, to be somewhat exact, for no reason whatsoever. And they're Russian and they're Ukrainian, but, they're soldiers. I want to see it end. Yeah.
Mr. President, have you decided you're definitely going to send National Guard troops to Chicago?
I didn't say when, but the answer is, look, Chicago's very interesting because I watched Pritzker get up and say about, we don't need help, we're safe. But 2 weeks ago, they had 6 people murdered, and they had 24 people hit by bullets. Last week, as you know, it was 7 people, 24 people hit, and 7 people died. And then over the last 2 days, that was the crown jewel. They had, I guess, 9 or 10 killed, and 50 hit with bullets. And you have this governor get up, who's a terrible governor. Probably he and Gavin Newsom would be probably the 2 worst and most naive. They're naive. Either they're naive or they're very untruthful. And he'll say, we don't want any protection. We don't need. So in the last 3 weeks, he's lost almost 20 people killed. There's no place in the world, including you can go to Afghanistan, you can go to places that you would think of. They don't even come close to this. Chicago is a hellhole right now. Baltimore is a hellhole right now. Parts of Los Angeles are terrible. If we didn't put out the fires, and I mean the other fires, the bullet fires, They didn't do a good job with, they should have had the water coming down, like I said. You know, we had to release the water. We had to go in and release the water to LA. It's so badly run. But if I didn't send the National Guard into Los Angeles, I would be making an announcement today. I'd be talking about Huntsville, and I'd simultaneously be saying, by the way, the Olympics is not coming to Los Angeles. If we didn't do that, and even the sheriff, the top law enforcement person in Los Angeles said, we could not have handled it without them. So that's what he said.
Make your mind up on Chicago, though?
Well, we're going in. I didn't say when. We're going in. When you lose, look, I have an obligation. This isn't a political thing. I have an obligation. When we lose, when 20 people are killed over the last 2.5 weeks and 75 are shot with bullets. So let me tell you a little story about a place called DC, District of Columbia, right here where we are. It's now a safe zone. We have no crime. We have, it's in such great shape. You can go and actually walk with your children. You're safe. Everyone likes you anyway. They probably wouldn't do it. But it's so dangerous. And there are people in this audience that you've suffered greatly. There are people in this audience that have been mugged and hurt badly, and they don't want to talk about it. Maybe you were very brave in talking about it. You made quite an impression on a lot of people. I appreciate it. But there were other people in this room that have been hurt very badly just walking down the street in D.C. Washington, D.C. is a safe zone right now. It's a safe city. The restaurants are open. They're booming. You can't get a restaurant. New restaurants are announcing that they're going to be open. This took place in 12 days. Now it's 15 days, but 3 days ago, it became what's known as a safe zone. It's a safe city. And this city was really bad, really, really bad. We took 1,600 people out, hardcore criminals that will not be coming back anytime soon. And we're very proud of it. You know, to have our nation's capital lose every week, you know, it was like years, many years where every single week, somebody was killed for many, many, many consecutive weeks. This went on for years. And then we had last week, it was announced that nobody was killed last week. And I made that announcement in front of a very distinguished leader of a country. And I'm saying proudly, ladies and gentlemen, nobody was killed in Washington, D.C. this week. He looked at me like, what's that all about? I say, yeah, we have a little bit of a crime problem. And we don't have a crime problem in Washington anymore. And the mayor has been very helpful. And the police commission has been very helpful. And it's been a great team. And I would love to have Governor Pritzker call me. I'd gain respect for him and say, we do have a problem. And we'd love you to send in the troops because you know what? The people, they have to be protected. I saw today on one of your networks, not a friendly network, except really the opposite, I would say, very unfriendly network. And they interviewed about 12 people on this morning. Most of them were African-American, who were Black. And they were saying, please, please, please let the president send in. These were people from Chicago. Please, we need help. We need help. We can't walk outside. We're petrified. If the governor of Illinois would call me up, I would love to do it. Now, we're going to do it anyway. We have the right to do it because I have an obligation to protect this country. And that includes Baltimore. I saw where Governor Moore was asking me to take a walk down the street of Baltimore. Well, Baltimore is a very unsafe place. It's rated number 4 in the city, one of the most unsafe places anywhere in the world. But, you know, we took care. This was a beautiful thing that happened in Washington because we showed that it could be done. And this wasn't just sending big, strong guys, and they are big and they are strong. You know, we had a great decision from the Supreme Court that had to do with sort of talent. It had to do with you are put down based on merit. You can hire based on merit. So merit for a soldier or for a policeman is strong, physically fit, something, you know, having a certain ability, not a person that is woke and got the job through woke, but wasn't strong enough to lift a gun out of the holster, et cetera, et cetera. No, I looked at the police, as you know, last week I went over, we had a meeting with, there had to be 300 people, and they were all very impressive looking. And when the bad guys see them, they're not going to do a thing. And so I'm very proud of Washington. It serves as a template, and we're going to do it elsewhere. But Chicago is certainly going to be high. I would love to have him call. I would love the governor of Illinois. I'd be honored to take his call. All he has to do is say, sir, we need help. It's out of control. And everyone knows it is. He's not kidding anyone. I would love to have, I would say, Governor Moore call, because I watched him over the weekend trying to explain that Baltimore, what they need is housing. No, they don't need housing. They need to get rid of the criminals. These are hardcore criminals. You know, we took many people off the streets of Washington, D.C. They're hardcore. They're not going to be good. In 10 years, in 20 years, in 2 years, they're going to be criminals. They were born to be criminals, frankly. They were born to be criminals, and they're tough and mean, and they'll cut your throat, and they won't even think about it the next day. They won't even remember that they did it. And we're not going to have those people. Washington, D.C. is now a safe zone. It's a safe place. And you can walk, Katie, you can walk right down the street with, by the way, one of the biggest human beings I've ever seen, which is her husband. He was a football player for like 11 years in the NFL. He's a big person. But big doesn't mean anything when they have guns and when they have knives and everything else that they have, right? But you can walk right down the street, even by yourself, and you're totally safe. Washington, D.C. is a great thing. Yes, ma'am, please.
Calling on Democratic leaders across the country to work with you on crime. Do you see your efforts here in D.C., including, for example, working with Mayor Bowser here as a model for bringing more bipartisanship in matters not only with crime, but also issues that matter to everyday American people's lives?
So Mayor Bowser's been great. She could have taken the thing, oh, well, and then after I clean it up, they'll take credit for it. You know what they do is they take credit. Like, we cleaned up Los Angeles. We did a great job there. And it was overwhelming what was going on. And again, the police chief made a statement that we could not have done, there's no way they could handle it. You saw what was happening out there. It was going to be a disaster. We stopped it cold. If we didn't do that, would have been a very sad day. And you know, remember, we have the Olympics, we have the World Cup, we have all these things coming, and we have 250, all of these things coming. But I watched Newsom get up and say he's doing a great. He's not. We're the ones that did it, and that's okay, whatever it takes. But the main thing is we. But he got up and said we did it. Well, he didn't want us there, and he's going to need us again because it's starting to form again. I see it. It's starting to form again. You know, we have to maintain. It's like maintenance on an airplane. You can buy it, but you have to maintain it. And if you don't maintain it, a good plane becomes very unsafe very quickly. So it's an honor to do it. It's a lot of presidents wouldn't do what I'm doing. I don't need this heat. But when I watched television last night and I'm watching the news and I see that 9 people were killed in Chicago and 54 were badly wounded with bullets, I say, that's not this country. We have to do something. And I do say this, I say this very much. I'm not speaking to anybody but them right now. I would love to receive calls from governors and mayors saying they need help. We'll help them. We have a lot of people. We have a great force. We have a great military force. You know, Pete will tell you that when I was running for office, and this was a big headline, I think, you know, probably got me a couple of votes, but you couldn't sign people in the military. Nobody wanted to join the military, the Army, Air Force, the Navy, Marines, Space Force, Coast Guard. We never forget Coast Guard because they've done such a great job. Never. But nobody wanted to join any of them. We were way below what we wanted. Every single one. The closest was the Marines, whatever that is. You'll explain that to me. But the closest was the Marines. But every service was way down, way down. And then I got elected, and our country's the hottest country anywhere in the world right now. Everybody's talking about the USA. They're talking about the job that we're doing. Everybody. We have the best economy. We have a very, very important decision being made by the Supreme Court because our country is the richest, the strongest, the most powerful. But if for some reason, some liberal court, I'm talking about the court that just ruled, where even an Obama judge voted in favor of us, which I gave him a compliment yesterday, as you know. I said that took great courage. But it's a liberal court, and it's going up to the Supreme Court, who I think have been incredible people. I think they've made very wise decisions, but the tariff question, because without the tariffs, this country is in serious, serious trouble. We've taken in almost $17 trillion of investment is coming in. Most of it is coming because of tariffs. And if for some reason somebody wanted to be politically correct, I actually think it's unpolitically correct. I think politically correct is to approve it, because there's nothing so popular as what's happened to our country. Our country is doing so well. But we had a liberal court gave us a very shocking ruling. And that ruling is basically saying that the trillions of dollars that are pouring into our country, putting us in a position like no country is anywhere in the world, that they'd like to see us that taken away. By the way, a lot of the people behind that lawsuit, that particular, are from foreign countries, I might add.
There's a video that is circulating online now of the White House where a window is open to the residents upstairs and somebody is throwing a big bag out the window. Have you seen this?
No, that's probably AI generated.
So
I actually.
Monday.com, the opposite of any work platform.
So let's get some of y'all reactions before we go back to what Trump is talking about, because he said a whole bunch. There's a whole lot to unpack here. So Mia, if you there, you just joined us. What did you think about what Trump was saying?
Oh my God. He just goes on and on and on and on. I thought this was only going to be like a 10-minute thing. He's ridiculous. He's like hilarious though. Like, don't get me wrong, like he's hilarious. Just the way he says stuff is absolutely entertaining. I mean, I really, for me, it's like the gaslighting. It's like, we all know the economy is shit right now and is being propped up by all this AI investment. France is literally collapsing as we speak. Their debt is over 120% of their GDP. Like, just to sit there and gaslight all of us on this kind of stage is a little wild to me.
What about you, Doc?
He was very vague in everything he said, which was, I think, one of my biggest points. Like, I don't know if Birmingham's not the best place for it, but he didn't really give good reasons. He didn't talk about the financial investment it would take to move Spacecom here. He said how many jobs it would bring, but he didn't, he kept saying it's not political. A lot of the reasons he did it were political. He won this state by this percentage. Colorado has mail-in voting. So a lot of it is because I don't think there's nothing wrong with him doing that. I think the problem is going to be if he put it there for his own political reasons, then when the next administration comes, it'll be seen as something that they would want to tear down in order to defame him, and it'll just cost American people more money. So I think that's just some of the problems with some of the things he's saying. And he's freaking crazy. Like literally, like some of this is just rambling. Like he's got, like, look at the people in the background. The people in the background are like the most K-rolling yes men ever, bro. Like they don't have a single thought in their head, like, of their own. Like, so they're just like, yes, sir. You tell them, big dog. You know what I'm saying? Like, look at him back, especially dude like off to the left of the screen. Like, he's just like, yeah, he got that sturdy. Exactly. You know what I'm saying? So, like, my thing is just, I don't think he gave, like, the greatest reasons. I'm not saying it's a bad location for it. I'm saying you got to explain to the American people how you decided on this, what it's going to cost. He's like, yeah, you can travel here. I haven't been to Birmingham, but I'm sure Birmingham Airport isn't like a destination location for you to just be flying in and flying out. Like, this will probably boost the economy in Alabama greatly, but I just want to make sure it's an advantageous situation for the American people, like, because they're going to spend a lot of money on this stuff, like, so and obviously they're going to sign these contracts out to their friends for their political reasons and all of this stuff. A lot of people are going to make money off of this, and I just want to make sure they're not going to double back later. And if Democrats win and we knock it down, and we're not going to finish the construction, and we spend millions and millions of taxpayer dollars. Like, are y'all going to fix the school system in Alabama? It's one of the worst in the country.
Are you gonna, fix a lot of this stuff? The commerce in Alabama is one of the worst in the country because you're looking at moving this out here and drastically increasing what the prices of people's property value is going to be, drastically increasing the taxes people are going to have to pay on property tax. People may not be able to afford that, and then you're going to be putting these people in a compromising position if you're not going to boost the economy so that these people can afford to live in Alabama now. Because
hold on,
we're
Doug.
leading because of tariffs. We're leading because of talent, and this is where they'd like to be. But without the tariffs, we wouldn't have a chance because we wouldn't be able to protect those investments of the companies coming in. So if you took away tariffs, we could end up being a third world country. That's how big the ruling. So we're asking for an expedited ruling.
He was saying that he agreed with what me was saying. He was saying that the stock market was down, but 80% of communication is nonverbal. When he said they're born like that, everybody behind him cringed. But go ahead, Doc. My bad. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, you're fine. And I think I think that's just going to be a big part of it. Like, are you going to price the people who are from Alabama out of being able to be from Alabama? Because if you bring this, then you're going to see a boom in the city. But the people who from here aren't necessarily going to benefit from it. This is going to bring a whole nother demographic. People who've been here hundreds of years, like Alabama and Georgia and all these southern states. These are states where some families never left. You know what I mean? And they're going to be pushed out by not being able to pay their taxes properly. It's going to be some people who lose their property because they can't pay the property tax. That's just going to be a reality of it if you have this influx of economics come in for the economy to go from something to nothing overnight. So
right. But the thing too, I mean, it also gives an area and a state, and obviously we can say the other states on the other side as well, because people can drive, people can move, and so on and so forth. It gives people a step up into exiting poverty, because now there's industry, whether it be the service industry, whether it be now there's a reason to go to college, and what's going to draw more people there, which obviously will disenfranchise some people, but it is what is needed down south. Like, I'm all for it being down. I'm all for the down south being as developed as it is up north. Like, there's a lot of industry up here. Like, you can basically do pretty much anything. And it shows with our education, it shows with all of that. And I would really like the South to have the same advantages as we do up north here. And I think, unfortunately, it's really needed. I mean, there are areas down there that are so depressed, like these people can't leave because there's no industry to work in order to leave. I think this is exactly what's needed. People need that hand up in order to get themselves out of poverty, and they need a reason to go to school. They need a reason to fight and to strive. And an influx of industry in that particular area could be the need to help all people get out of poverty, because now there is industry. Now they can make more money. There's the possibility of that. Right now, there's not really the possibility of that. And with this extra could be the possibility of that, of making more money, of better opportunities for you, of your children in a move upward, so to speak.
I agree, but then we look at these northern cities that have fallen into ruin after the industry is left, like Detroit, where they're selling houses for $1 because a lot of the properties in the inner city is abandoned now that they don't have it. My thing would be, I need him to hear him speak about putting programs in place for people from Alabama to benefit as well. These people who the lowest of the low, they're not going to benefit. These people sitting behind him, they're going to benefit. They're going to put people in place. This is going to do nothing. There's people who can't afford to move, and even if it's service industry, hey, are we going? The governor's there. Are we talking about changing the minimum wage in Alabama? Are we talking about changing the school system and maybe putting programs that these kids can learn? Like some jobs that they don't have to go to college for, but they can support their family with. Like, everybody's not going to be a billionaire, but they can support their families. We're not talking about any of those type of things. Is my problem is that, when they're talking about it, you're coming into one of the poorest states in the country. So that means education is at an all-time low already. So even if you wanted these people to take a step up in education, we have to give them all the tools needed to change it for that next generation of children and people in Alabama. And I don't hear that being mentioned at all. I hear for what the top people in Alabama are going to benefit and what's going to happen for the people at the top of Alabama. There's less people at the top than at the bottom. They outnumber them vastly, is my problem.
My question is this, and Mia, I'm going to ask you first because you haven't answered this. So the Trump is dead thing was trending on X. That was a huge thing. We talked about it last night. We got 40,000 views. People are extremely upset. So does this dispel the rumors that Trump is sick?
No, there's a difference between being dead and being sick. I mean, if this is live, he's alive. This doesn't dispel that he isn't sick, that he isn't ill. I mean, he's an old man. These are all old people. These people rather die in office than pass the baton to Gen X, who would be next in line to run the country. That's where we're at. It's just like a boomer thing. The most selfish generation we have in this country. Everything was given to them, and they refuse to pass along the power to the rest of us that are waiting.
What about you, Doc?
I would have to go and look at him, but it's hard to tell. He's almost 80. These guys are so freaking old, like it's ridiculous. He's almost 80. He's almost 80 with access to the best healthcare in the world. So, like, it's going to be hard to just look at someone and tell if he's sick. I mean, he kind of always looks goofy like this. You know what I mean? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, and that's just his look. Like, you know what I mean? Like, so he is nothing about him looks like lethargic. He look like he ready to go get on X right now and tell somebody about themselves. So, you know what I'm saying? I can't really judge it off of this. Like, I think the Trump died rumors are weird though. Like, you know, like I would hope that the president doesn't die when if FDR passed away, I would hope when FDR passed away, we didn't hide that and no one's. I think his vice president, if he passed away, would be so excited to step up and take that office that there would be no way to just like peddle him still being alive for this long.
I mean, historically, there is precedence when like kings die. They normally don't announce it right away. I mean, so a lot of the time they'll wait a fortnight, which is sometimes like up to 2 weeks before they would announce that the king is dead, just so they can secure the next in line and get them established and quell any opposition. So even if he did pass on, I mean, I bet you they'd hide it for 12 to 24 hours. That way they could prepare their strategy to quell any opposition.
Right.
If I'm the vice president though, with nothing to do, just sitting on my hands, like my office really has no power. Hey, I'm on that first quarter. Like the moment
that man goes on vacation every other week. He is busy on vacation.
Hey man, to be the man, everybody wants to be the man. So I just can't see him passing away and the dude behind him who obviously wants his spot. There's nobody who doesn't want his spot that's doing what they're doing. All these dudes behind him, everybody who endorses him, they all want his spot. Now, if I know it's my spot, yo, I'm finna be on it ASAP first quarter. Like I ain't letting them decide, because the long if I let them go for 2 weeks or a couple days, I just know they trying to finesse me out of it, and I ain't going. I got to put this out there immediately. I'm on Fox News.
DeSantis tried that. You saw what happened with him. He thought Trump was done. Then he went against Trump, and now his career over.
See what I'm saying?
So if you go make sure they go, you got to make sure they go. And if JD Vance acted too early, it'll ruin his Republicans. Because MAGA, like we were saying, MAGA loves Trump so much.
Yeah, but I'm saying if I know he gone, man, I'm on 10. I'm on 10.
Well, that's why they don't put us back in the big house. They know better. They know we'd be like, we're nosy. They know we're nosy. They know we'd be like, what are you doing?
If Trump died and I'm JD Vance, I'm walking around in the White House with my shirt off. You know what I'm saying? Like in a tank top. I'm the man now. You know what I'm saying? Get out. You know what I mean? Like he gonna act a fool. Like, because everybody wants that spot. Like I can't see them allowing somebody to hide it because they want it so bad. Like all of them are dying to be the president.
For sure. Well, let's see what he got to say, and then we'll do the final thoughts.
everybody knows we should be able to do. Yeah, please.
Mr. President, another Biden era action that you're now reversing is that you signed a deal last week to make federal buildings adopt and embrace classical architecture styles again. Can you talk to us about why you do that, and also what's your vision?
Well, we want to see beautiful buildings. Now, you know, it's in the eye of the beholder. I've seen architectural reviews over the years. I'm an expert at it. I've gotten a lot of great reviews, but I've seen buildings that I didn't think were very good get great reviews, and I've seen great buildings get bad reviews. So, but it's just a standard. We want to have a good standard. We're building something here, you know, for 150 years, they wanted a ballroom at the White House. We're doing something at the highest level using great architects and all. And, you know, it's very exciting. But we have a lot of interesting things happening architecturally in DC. And DC is like a different place. And, you know, even the contractor said, sir, we walked down today, we feel like much safer. It's like a different place. Washington, D.C. is great. Now, we're going to also beautify it. We're going to put a topping on the roads. We're not going to rip them apart and take 4 years to build a road that was exactly the same by the time you build it. But we're going to put toppings. We're going to put new medians in. We're going to get the graffiti off. We're going to put tiles up in the tunnels where the tiles are missing. And we'll do the whole tunnel instead of, you know, a little area where you see new tiles, old tiles that never look too good, but they could use it. You know, they've been up for 50 years. They've served their duty. But we're going to make this within about a 20-mile radius from the White House. We're going to have this place spick and span. It's going to be crime-free, and it's going to be spick and span. It's going to be, you'll be proud of Washington again. Go ahead, please.
Sir, China's having a massive military parade that President Putin and Kim Jong-un will be attending. Do you interpret that as a challenge to this? And are you concerned at all about those countries trying to be some sort of counterweight?
Not at all. China needs us, and I have a very good relationship with President Xi, as you know, but China needs us much more than we need them. No, I don't see that at all, no. And I had actually a very good meeting with President Putin a couple of weeks ago. We'll see if anything comes out of it. If it doesn't, we'll take a different stance.
The Pentagon March today in California ruled that your deployment of National Guard troops to Los Angeles was illegal. Do you have any response?
Well, it was a radical left judge, but very importantly, what did you not tell me in that question or statement that you made? Pretty much of a statement, I think.
Well, I was asking for your response.
No, you didn't say what the judge said, though. The judge said, but you can leave the 300 people that you already have in place. They can continue to be in place. That's all we need. But why didn't you put that as part of your statement? Because the same judge ruled exactly as you said, except the judge said that you could leave the 300 people that you already have in place. They can stay, they can remain, they can do what they have to do. Thank you very much, everybody. We appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much.
My bad, muted for sure. So that was Trump and his announcement, and I think he actually named the Space Command Center after himself. So Trump said a lot. It was a lot of stuff to take in. So I'm gonna let everybody do their final thoughts. Doc, I'm gonna start with you.
I don't genuinely have like an issue with like him having a space command or even where he puts it. I think one of the things that just needs to be understood is this stuff needs to be advantageous for the American people, for the people who are going to be in that area, for the people who are going to reside. And we can't just put something somewhere. We also have to think about the demographic, the people, and the things we need to do to help make and improve their lives, as well as a lot of stuff he said is very vague. Like he says it, but he doesn't actually says how he's going to do it, what it's going to take, what it's going to cost. He doesn't always say a lot of these things. And that makes it so dangerous with people being so split from left and right, because if you go and do something and you don't at least like have all the right intentions for doing it, have the American people in mind when doing it, then when they get ready to go and try to repeal it or change it, the people aren't behind you, and we end up spending more money as a country. So I just want them to do things and you know, have a sound thought process behind it and why they're doing it, and in that way it'll just leave us all in a better place.
For sure, for sure. Heaven, what's your final thoughts?
I feel like we all fell for the okey doke, and it was a stunt. I think moving the military installation is going to cost us a lot in the long run. And I think that it is also a way for our government to get more people in the military, which is something, like they mentioned, we need more, we need help in the military. Our military needs help, which they do, absolutely. Let's not forget about the Epstein list. Let's not forget that DC may seem safe, but it's a militarized zone in America, and we shouldn't normalize this, not on the left or the right. We all need to come together to do what's right for us here. And if that's us coming up with the ideas and pushing it to our government, then that's what we need to do. But it's time for us all to come together.
For sure. Mia, what's your final thoughts? You're muted. You're muted.
Of course I am. I would say my final thoughts are, if you are not subscribed and following the new party, you need to subscribe, like, and follow the new party. And as well, you can follow me and you can find me on TikTok, X, and YouTube as well. It's Mia, not Maya, and everybody else on the panel as well. Follow us. We are all very active. So if you're not following us, you should be following us, specifically this one, because we're here Monday through Thursday. And I guess my final thoughts would be, I'm happy that the installation is moving from Colorado to Alabama. I think it is a good thing for Alabama. I want to see more industry being developed down south, and more moves for families down south being able to move up and elevate. I think that is fantastic. Don't trust him on anything economic, because he seems really shady and he's not telling the whole truth. We don't have the best economy. Most people are starving to death all over the world, and most countries in Europe are about to collapse. So definitely don't listen to him on anything economic. But at the end of the day, I'm happy with the installation move. I'm not happy about the National Guard being utilized. However, I am happy that DC, the crime has gone down according to their mayor. However, I don't think the National Guard should be utilized like that. We have plenty of FBI, ATF, and DEA agents that can be used to help out cities. And I think cities should want to take help from the FBI, ATF, and DEA to clean up their streets and to get help. I think it says a lot about a city that doesn't want help. I think it also is really crazy to me where everybody keeps saying, oh, we can do it ourselves. We can do it ourselves. Well, it's been 60 years and you haven't done it, and thousands of people have died. So now let's start doing it. Put your money where your mouth is at this point in time. And I'll end with that.
For sure. My final thoughts is thank you to everybody for coming. We are starting to do this 12 p.m. Like Mia said, we do this Monday through Thursday. Tonight at 8 p.m. what we're going to be talking about is scholars declare Gaza crisis a genocide, global reaction. So we'll be talking about Gaza. My final thoughts is basically, I like that on here when we actually talk about the stuff that's happening live, whether it's a press conference, whether it's a State of Union address, when it's real history actually happening, and we're giving the information and giving our reactions to people. A lot of people showed up today and watched. So thank you to everybody on X, everybody on YouTube that showed up to watch. And thank you to the cast. As far as Trump is going to come out and say whatever to try to look good or to try to change the narrative. Trump is all about the performances of everything. I guess the only benefit is this works out that, for the Democratic Party, they won't have to fix it. So if he really fixes something, really fix it. I feel like that's what we've all really been talking about on here generically. Like, if we're really going to say we're going to solve these issues, don't just make it a political thing. Like we always say on the new party, always vote. Thank you for rocking.